The survivor-like genre exploded in popularity after the breakout success of Vampire Survivors back in December 2021. Since then, the floodgates have opened. Auto-shooting roguelikes are everywhere, throwing players into adrenaline-fueled chaos as thousands of enemies swarm the screen and dare you to survive wave after wave of madness. The latest entry into this craze, Soulstone Survivors. Now I'll be honest, I haven't played too many of these games, so yes, I'm kind of a noob. But as the self-proclaimed indie king, it's my duty to dive into this one and decide, is it worth your time and money? Let's jump into it. Let's start off with the good. One of the biggest surprises I had with this game was the level of content available at launch. You see, in this era of modern gaming, games usually release with bare minimum content, mostly broken, or just failed on every promise the developer made. And on top of that, when you look at most Survivor games, the amount of unlockables is very scarce. But Soulstone Survivors surprised me. I mean, when you think of these roguelike Survivor games, they have everything usually behind a paywall and hit you with that freemium baloney that just makes you want to flip a table. But none of that is here. We start out with the Barbarian class, which is pretty standard, meant to be a good entry-level player, just swing your sword at every turn. But other than the Barbarian class, there are 20 other characters to unlock and try out, each with their own traits and abilities that make them unique in their own way. You have physical fighters, but also magic-based fighters like Pyromancer that focuses on fire and chaos-based attacks, ranged fighters like the Sentinel that focuses on arrow attacks that deal critical hits, and dual fighters that have both magic and physical traits like the Spellblade, which can use elemental blades that dish out crazy damage. And you might be asking, well, Marsman, are they locked behind a paywall? No, they aren't.
Say what?
Each character is unlocked through attaining achievements by, get this, playing the freaking game. Whoa. I mean, this is crazy, but yeah, you play the game, you earn characters. Now, some achievements are harder to earn compared to others, but I just like the fact you can grind the game and earn these characters to play as them. And not only are there characters to play, but you also earn tokens to upgrade your player's progression tree, which gives benefits for your runs. So your early runs might be tough, but the more you play, the more you can upgrade your characters, which then gives you a much needed power boost. All this, and there is technically forgeable weapons too. I mean, the bottom line is there's a decent amount to play and do in this game, which is an added benefit to me. And I think the overall play of the game feel is pretty solid too. I think yes, for the runs you go on, there are some criticism that I will mention later in the video, but the power-ups and upgrades that you earn during your runs are pretty enjoyable. Based on my research and the time I played, there's roughly 500 different power-ups you can earn based on all the different playstyles that are available. Meaning every time you play a game, you can have a different set of skills that you can make your playthrough feel kind of different each time. Certain characters have different skills that they can learn for each game, which does limit what they can experience, but even then, I never felt like I was limited during my playthrough. Some moves are sort of wild, like throwing void tornadoes or black holes to give enemies constant integration, like I'm hitting them with black flame magic from Elden Ring. And I felt myself drifting toward that type of build because it just made me feel like a legend. But there are all different types of attacks. Electric attacks that create a chain of shock to hit many opponents, bomb blasts that create havoc, heck, even creating totem poles to blast enemies as you walk by them. I mean, there's a lot of different moves to equip, which makes you feel super powerful. And it makes this game feel extremely fun to play because now you can try all these different abilities and there is something new each time. Lastly, the visuals and the overall feeling of the game were pretty good. I don't think this will hit you like you're watching the Unreal Engine 5 for the first time or something, but the colors, the character designs, and the maps all looked good. Graphically, Soulstone Survivors is clean and stylish. Enemies are distinct, effects are crisp, and the performance rarely falters, even when the entire screen is engulfed in explosions and dozens of enemies. It's a visual spectacle without becoming unreadable, which is a tough balance for this type of genre. There wasn't really any glitches I experienced, and even the music was pretty good. I'm a fan of gaming music, and you have to give credit to the devs here for the presentation and the overall vibes of the game. Now, with the good, we have to talk about the bad. And earlier I had mentioned there's a lot of power-ups in the characters to play with, which does give you a lot to do, which is true. But one of the bigger problems I had is the lack of arenas to fight in. At the launch of the game, we only had 5 arenas to play in, each one having their enemies and bosses slightly different because of its terrain. So that's solid. But when you use the curses, which is basically like skulls from Halo, to boost your difficulty to unlock the next tiers of these maps, the only thing that changes is the difficulty, not the maps. No new locations, nothing. All that really changes is the level of how hard the game becomes with tougher enemies. So basically, you could play the game for maybe 2 to 3 hours, and you technically have played on every map you will experience. Now I get it, this is not some massive experience that is meant to grind change away your life like you're hitting up Hades or something, but still, it hurts the game because I felt like with all the different progression systems that the game has, it kind of felt like a letdown that there was a limited number of arenas to play in. And you could tell that the devs put so much work into the character designs and the different power-ups that it just felt like the lack of maps really did hurt. And that kind of goes with the enemies too. I mean, the areas have their own guards that you're fighting against, but I felt like I was fighting similar bosses quite often. So sure, does this game hit you with many different ways to play with different power-ups? Yes, it does. And that does deserve credit. But at the same time, when you have the same arenas and similar challenges each run, it doesn't really change that much. And that also does coincide with the characters you have too. Some of them are straight up legends that make it really difficult to lose. Sure, you might say then, just add the curses and make it harder. Sure, but it still feels like the balancing of characters is super off. For those who want an easier game, just pick the spell blade to annihilate armies by combining physical attacks and status effects that tear through enemies like butter. Like legit, certain characters have every type as their base, so essentially they don't have a single weakness. So it's like you just pick Durin right off the rip and they can't even stop you. I think after the fact, devs will probably make adjustments to certain characters to make them more equal, to give the players more of a challenge this way, but I feel like this was sort of a consistent problem with some of the characters I had played with. Now when it comes to the Galactic Grade, I felt this game had both positives and negatives. The overall feeling of being a legend and absolutely smacking around enemies with my array of powers was so fun to do, especially with so much content to try out, with variable character types, and a really complex progression system. However, due to the lack of maps, limited experiences to play on, and some balancing issues, it did limit what I could play overall. I had talked to the devs and they had mentioned that they were planning on releasing new maps, bosses, and weapons to play on in the coming updates, but the release date was not yet revealed to me. In its current state, I give Soulstone Survivors a 7.5 out of 10. If you're a fan of survivor-like games and are used to combat stylings of games like Vampire Survivor, you're going to enjoy your time with this game. As someone who is a noob in this genre, I felt the growing pains of the title, but when I got used to it, I did feel like the game grew on me and I wanted to keep trying the harder difficulties to see if I was as good as I thought I was. It is currently available for around $10 and I think it would give you a decent amount of content to enjoy, so it may be worth it if you're a fan of the genre. With the new updates dropping to include more maps, equipment, and bosses, I can guarantee that the game will get a boost, and I will jump back in to see if I can destroy the Void King. But what are your thoughts about Soulstone Survivors? Do you think it's the next hit on the survivor genre? Let us know what you think in the comments below. If you like the content, drop a thumbs up and subscribe to support the channel. Until next time, this is Marsman signing off. Game on.